The finale of season 2 is the best 1 hour Walking Dead anything ever.
But was it really? Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another Walking Dead video. Today we're talking about the season finale of Daryl Dixon season 2. Something that Norman Reedus really hyped up, really oversold in my opinion. And so we're just going to talk about it, break it down, and just talk about the future of Daryl Dixon, where I think they might be heading as far as the story with Ash and Laurence, and just kind of break that part down too, because I think there's some surprising stuff coming. Plus, with the supposedly coming announcements regarding Rick Grimes and his future in the franchise. That stuff's coming in a few weeks. If you want to know more about that, please check out the video. I'll link it above. But with the season finale of Daryl Dixon, this season as a whole was okay. It was nothing mind-blowing. It wasn't like, oh my god, this is so amazing. It was nothing compared to The Ones Who Live. Because, within the first 20 minutes or maybe even less of episode 1 of The Ones Who Live, I was so happy to see that character back. I was so happy to see Rick and Michonne back doing their thing, seeing what had happened all these years that we were left hanging after Rick had left the original Walking Dead series. And so it was really, just an amazing show. It was a great show, great story, great visuals, great everything. And with Daryl Dixon, it has been interesting to see him in another location, seeing the beautiful visuals of Paris and the aftermath of the apocalypse and what it looked like there. And we got introduced to some great characters, but it just kind of slowly but gradually went downhill, especially in this season with some of the writing choices they made, some of the things that they chose to do. We got some great redemptions too with some past characters, but that kind of was all undone within the last 10 minutes of the episode, and I will talk about that. But the episode picks up, and we're back with Daryl and Carol and everybody trying to make their way, trying to get the plane ready, trying to discuss who may have to end up staying behind, because Ash tells them that not all 4 of them are going to get this plane up off the ground. It can't be done with the type of plane that it is and everything. So they come up with a plan, who's going to stay behind. So Daryl says that he's going to stay behind. Carol needs to get back on the plane to take care of Laurent, to help Ash get back there and just be that, presence in his life with the absence of Isabel. And so they all decide, well, this is how we're going to do it then. And then Falou and Condron show up, and they provide support too. And with the way that Jensita, as who I referred to as Crazy Eyes before, because we didn't really hear her name too often, but I feel like they dropped it more in this episode than we had heard previously in her whole time in the series. But Jensita shows up. She gets this information from Anna. Now, Anna, I thought, was completely going to sell out Daryl. That was my prediction, because the way that they played it out with the trailer and everything, that she was going to completely sell out Daryl, sell out everybody involved, so she could get her hands on that plane. But it really doesn't turn out that way. So I was very pleasantly surprised with her role as far as leading these people into a trap, because she, on some level, cares about Daryl, cares about Laurent, and seeing him get out of the situation that he's in, get away from these crazy fanatic type people, and get him to a safer place. So she takes them to the stadium, of course, because she really doesn't have a choice, because they have an idea, I think, of where the plane is supposed to be. And so she takes them there, takes them into this parking garage within this race field or whatever, and we see the reappearance of burner walkers. We have not really seen them since, I want to say, last season. And everybody was kind of wondering, where are these variants at? Why haven't we seen them anymore? And then, lo and behold, we get the return of the burner variants, and one of them actually takes a chunk out of Jensita's arm. And so she knows that her time is limited, but she's still so dead set on finding Laurent and bringing hope back to the world or whatever. But I really think she's just very unhinged and doesn't have anything else to believe in. So she needs to get this kid back. And so they all get swarmed by burner walkers in this parking garage, and they end up locking Anna out of this kind of gated off area, and she just kind of accepts her fate and dies. But she knows that she led them there to lead them to a trap. She didn't actually give anybody up, but in a sense she still did. But I don't think she really had the choice at the time, because of the situation that she was put in. She was not going to be responsible for someone else's death. And so we see Anna go down. That's the end of her. And that was, I guess, surprising, but not surprising at the same time. And so after that, we see that this little army, even though Jensita is very much on her way out, they still go after Laurent. They hear the plane start powering up, and they start making their way to that area. And then we get a pretty badass gunfight. We get just these people shooting back and forth. We get Condron throwing a grenade, and this is where we see him from that bit from the trailer, where he just opens up on these people, and we all assume that he's going to die, but that's not the case. And I was very, very surprised by this, but it still kind of ends his story, if it is the end anyways, in a very odd way. But him, Falou, Daryl, they all are laying down this cover fire so Laurent, Carol, and Ash can get the plane, get it up off the ground, get out of there. And then at the last seconds, too, we see this moment where Carol is really unsure about how she's going to play this out, but then it kind of cuts away from it, and then we go back to the plane as Laurent and Ash are the only ones in the frame. So we're led to believe that Carol is still on the plane, but as they get it up off the ground, as they're making that way, they do get kind of chased by a dude on a dirt bike. They get a couple of guys shooting from the side. Daryl takes out this guy on the dirt bike, and then we see a couple other guys go down, some miraculous shooting on Daryl's part, and then we get these guys come out on an ATV chasing the plane, shooting at him, and then out of nowhere Daryl tries to shoot them but realizes he's out of ammo, and then we see these guys just shot, and then the ATV veers off and the plane is able to get up the ground, and of course we get the reveal that Carol has let herself off the plane, and she takes care of these guys and helps Laurent and Ash get up and get out of there with surprisingly very little effort. We don't see any plane damage that we know of at the moment, but I'm wondering if that's going to play off into their story later. But all in all, the first part of the episode, very good. I very much enjoyed it. And we get Condron, Falou, Daryl, Carol all go off, and they meet these two Scottish people that reside in this kind of small castle, just very fortified place, and they say that they know the way to get them to England so they can find another way home from there, because supposedly England is very much better off than France. But I feel like that's been something that's been said about multiple areas within the Walking Dead world, that some place is supposedly just better than where they are. And so they go on the word of these two people. Falou apparently knows them. And then we get the introduction of another character. I can't remember her name at the moment. I'm just terrible with names, because if they're not mentioned more than once, it's just kind of hard to retain that information. But we get this woman who is supposedly someone that is on their side. And Falou kind of starts to connect with her. And they have a moment where they kind of kiss each other, and she says that, she would like to go with him, but she can't. She has to stay behind to find her sister or some family member that she believes is still out there, and that's the only family she's got left, so it's really the only hope that she's got as far as finding someone that she still cares about out there in this world. And so it kind of builds up from there, where we get Falou starting to doubt whether or not he can go with them. And so they get to the Eurotunnel. They get to this point where they're supposed to get through this tunnel, and there's going to be checkpoints with British soldiers and whatnot. But here's where the episode kind of just diverts and takes a hard left turn and just completely downhill. The last 10-15 minutes of the episode were very weird, to say the least. It was just very awkward the way that they set it up. But they go into this tunnel, and this is where we see our bioluminescent zombies, and we see some other stuff going on. They get to this checkpoint where all these soldiers are dead. They've apparently killed each other, and the bat guano that is in the air that has caused some hallucinogenic type of after effect is what caused these soldiers to just kind of lose their shit and start killing each other. And so it's been quite some time since this happened, because there's nothing left of these guys. And then just slowly and surely, everyone starts to lose their minds and starts to see things. We got Daryl seeing different things. We got Condron seeing his brother again in walker form. We got Carol jumping back to the Sophia thing after realizing that she has not dealt with it. It's been 10 years, 12 years, whatever it's been since they lost Sophia, and she's just realizing that she's never dealt with it. And so she starts seeing the version of her in walker form, because she admits to Daryl that she can't remember what she really looks like before she died. And so she just has this really weird moment. She follows this hallucination down a tunnel, and this is where she sees a hallucination of herself as a walker. And she just has, kind of a real crisis type moment. And then she finally sees Sophia as Sophia. Of course, it's a stand-in actress who looks something like Madison Lynch, who played Sophia originally. And just realizing that she has to move on, she has to let her go, and has this weird embrace kind of thing with this hallucination, and just kind of accepts that she is gone. She has to let her go. And then she moves on, and then she finds Daryl. All the while, Daryl and Condron are fighting each other because Condron sees that Daryl kills the walker that he thinks is his brother and just loses his shit. He's tripping balls and goes after Daryl and says, "You killed my brother again." And then for some reason or another, after Daryl gets him off of him, Condron takes off running, and we don't see him again. And it's just the weirdest thing in the world because I really thought he was going to die, but apparently he's tripping balls somewhere and he just takes off running and we don't see him again. And then the episode just closes out with Daryl and Carol after Daryl has dealt with the two Scottish folks who also kind of turned on him. And after he goes to find these gas masks from these soldiers, this is how he kind of realizes that the air is kind of toxic. And these two Scottish guys go after him. He kills both of them, of course. And then Condron's off, seeing colors and whatnot. He's run off, and him and Carol just kind of get together and be like, "Oh, let's go home." And they walk off into the bioluminescent sunset, if you will. And so we know that at some point they're going to get, I don't know if it's turned around or just maybe run into a situation where they get disoriented again, where they end up in Spain instead of England, where they can find their way back home so they can stretch the story out just a little bit more. And it's frustrating nonetheless, and I'm really hoping we do see a proper close to all of this because there is the announcement, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, about some news possibly coming out here soon about Rick. But there's no confirmation on any of that right now, and we're just hoping on hope that we get something that is proper, that is a complete wrap-up of these characters, because I just don't know how long they can continue to drag out these characters and drag out these stories and recycle different stories, and kind of with on par about what we could see in the future. And I did a whole separate video about this too, where I believe that Ash and Laurent do make it back home. They do make it to the Commonwealth, and this is how they will eventually find Daryl and bring him home. Like maybe this is where we will get our big Daryl and Rick reunion, where Rick is going to use his CRM resources, go after Daryl, and bring him back home. That's just me kind of hoping for the best, preparing for the worst type situation. But nonetheless, I mean, the season was okay. It was a decent season. I didn't hate it or anything, but it was nothing mind-blowing. It didn't change my view on The Walking Dead as far as it's just not as exciting as it used to be, and it seems like they're really, really trying hard but not making the correct choices. And overall, one of the biggest stupidest things that they did this season was kill Isabel, but it was all about not having two female leads. We all know it was, and that's just where they wanted to go. They wanted to sever that France storyline without actually killing everyone. We just had Condron run off into the darkness. We don't know what happened to him. We had Laurent and Ash successfully make it out. I'm really surprised Ash is still alive, to be honest. And then we had Flu stay back. We had our two little Scottish guys get themselves killed because they turned on Daryl. It was a very subpar season. I will give it that. It was not awful, but I really hope they step it up next season. I really hope they do something to bring back that hype and excitement that we used to get from this universe, and just hopefully they have something up their sleeve that will make us care about this world again, because at this point it's just kind of sticking with it to see what happens. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review, the breakdown, my thoughts about the Walking Dead universe. If you did, please be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, share the channel, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you next time. So take care. Bye.